Hey, what's going on, everybody? Nigeria Chambers here from Big Gold Belt Media. Today, got a special interview. Who's here to talk about his short film Darcine's Way, which has made its premiere over numerous festivals right now. We're here to talk about it and learn about the future plans. Because when there's short films, there's always a granular idea behind it. And Aaron, you're so talented in so many different ways. So even before we talk about you being in the director's seat, we have to give credit for everything you've done on some of our most an iconic television series across every streaming platform, every television service, whatever it is. Your print has been everywhere. So, first of all, Aaron, how you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Just fine.
Absolutely excited to talk to you today. Listen, a property master. Now, I looked through the credits and you've been credited, as I mentioned, on so many different series and titles and across streaming services and across different television networks. But a master is a very high title here. And I think rightfully so by the resume. But could you tell us a little bit behind what does a property master do, along with like the art design and set designs, all that good stuff? Tell us how that all comes together.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Um, Property Master on a television show or a feature film handles all of the props, obviously. Uh, and what that first and foremost, that gives us sort of an entry and an invitation to work very closely with the actors. So the props are handled by the actors and interacted with by the actors, and basically anything actors handle, touch, or interact with, eat, um, manipulate, get shot by, any operate, move, everything that has action is called a prop, and it's differentiated from the rest of the art department so that it can have special focus and special attention.
Yeah.
The props, the items that are being handled by the actors might be identical to all the set dressing on the shelves behind, but the ones being handled have special attention because they have to perform in a certain way to tell the story. And what's really cool about it is because we're working so closely with the actors, the props usually end up becoming integral to the story, if nothing else, just in the way it helps the actors with their performance.
Yeah.
But if you think about our daily life and what we do as people, every day we're handling things that kind of define who we are and what we do, whether which cell phone we choose, which glasses we choose, what kind of food we eat, where we eat. The one thing, for example, about food that's interesting is, a lot of times in shows we have food and
Yeah.
eating. And it occurred to me a while back, why in my job am I always doing food? Why every show, big or small, Western, futuristic, why is it food? And I realized how people eat reveals character.
Yeah. Yeah.
One person might eat at a table with two servants and tablecloth, and one person might eat in their car.
Yeah.
Both people are perhaps getting the same nutrition, let's say, but it reveals character. So that's the interesting thing about props is the choices that we make in the props department reveal character, which is one of the big pillars of storytelling.
Yeah. I recently had really took a very interesting dive into this and as you mentioned, there's some things that I think as viewers we just take for granted. We absolutely praise the actors and the set designs and production and whatnot, but like there's little things we forget, like food. Yeah, it has to be there. We do eat, and understanding about how meals are made and it does, like, again, how things are kind of configured in sort of these settings. They really do tell a story. um I appreciate the insight there. I definitely could talk about it so much more. I do really want to quickly ask you because on September 19th, Monsters, the Loud and Carrot Menendez story is coming to Netflix. That's a big one here. What might you be able to say about what you've been able to do for this one?
Well, I was working with another property master named Dwayne Grady, and it's a big show. It's a big stylized kind of story retelling of a historical event.
Yeah.
It involved of course, involves murder and cover up and intrigue. So it's, prime for drama. And on a show like that, we try to stick as close to historical accuracy as possible. I don't think we ever pretend to be or claim to be a documentary
Right,
when,
right.
but we try to stick with as close to historical accuracy as possible so that the audience believes that they're watching the real deal.
Yeah.
So it helps them take them on the journey more because they believe they're watching the real people. So
Yeah.
in the casting, the casting is very specific, and the hairstyles and the props, like the exact glasses that those
Mm.
people wore, the exact rings, the exact cars they drove, the exact weapons they used. We try to duplicate those exactly so that, again, the audience will sort of think that they're watching the real deal.
Yeah, I think the Monsters franchise has made a name for itself. So I'm sure based on the Dahmer installment that we're certainly expecting this one to come back and be even better. So let's get into this film. And I be very candid here. Anybody that I've ever talked to that's done a short, I always say I don't like shorts because it's like an appetizer. Sometimes you just need the whole entree. You want to eat the entire meal right now. But I have gained so much appreciation for shorts, especially after the pandemic, and that's exactly where this film is taking place. So by that setting, and by just from everything that we experienced during the pandemic, I really have grown a soft spot for short films, and it's been certainly a focus of mine to really want to promote that. So the first thing I want to start off with you is you have a short. Before we get into it, what is your ultimate goal? Are you looking to extend this as a feature, or are you looking at something more episodic?
Open for both, exploring both, but I think that I'm leaning right at this moment toward a feature.
Yeah.
I have a higher appreciation regard for episodic, and what I see in that genre is a multitude of stories that have to sustain one, two, or three seasons, and that seems like a great challenge. But this particular story, Darcine's Day, it seems like a more like a feature type of story,
Yeah.
and um, the way I'm pitching it now to people who are interested is because our story, I don't know if you want to dive into the story of my
Yes,
film
sir.
yet, but we deal with housing and post-pandemic realities in the big city, which what I found in my research, a lot of people are going through, even though they may be functioning at a high level at work or school, but a lot of people are sort of going through this unspoken reality of how tough it is these
Yeah.
days. Food's more expensive, housing's more expensive.
Yeah.
Um, jobs are more difficult to find, jobs are paying less, and we're all sort of rolling with this new reality, and we just sort of like shrug, we just have to accept it. We don't have a choice, but you go to the grocery store and a bag of groceries is $125.
Yeah.
You go out to lunch with two people and it's $70 or $80.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
just sort of say, oh well, it was a treat. But in the end, it's just draining our accounts more and more. It's harder to get ahead.
Yeah.
And some people, as I learned through my research, many people that I knew and people who knew that people that I knew found out that some people are actually experiencing homelessness while they're functioning at a quote regular kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
The barista in the coffee shop, or or a coworker. I heard a story about a person who attended UCLA for 2 years while living in their car, and
Mm.
got their credential and passed their classes, but had to live in their car for 2 years while attending UCLA. So it's kind of an interesting contrast between that opportunity and the reality of our life in the big city.
Yeah. In watching the film, and I did not want to desensitize Darcine or women's experience in LA. But I can't help but to say, and as you just articulated, we all are Darcine in the sense of going through what the economy's throwing at us and trying to survive, and the folks that as you said, appear to be functioning well, but you never truly know what they're going through, and which is why I always preach about this being kind to everybody, because you just don't know what they're going through on a day to day. Yeah, you see people that dress nice and maybe out party out visibly, and then where is home for them? They don't even know where home's at. Where they sleep tonight? So many sorts of different cases like that. Even when you talk about starvation and such, like there's so many commercials about what does it look like for somebody that may be struggling to find a meal, and that's still something that bothers me day to day, because we know that there's is a situation with how everything inflation with all of the prices, especially with groceries and so on. So like I could imagine that there's folks that may not be able to eat the same way they have been, but everybody tends to look like everything's okay. But we all know deep down inside that there's a lot going on. There's a big problem. The homeless rate in LA is at the highest it's ever been, and they're even trying to pass laws to put them where is the question. You're not giving them a place to safely be able to live, but you want to run them out like crazy times. And which is why I really appreciate this 16-minute film that has more than days worth of content to talk about today, to be honest. I want to start from the top really quickly with you. Darcine Thomas. Um, who is Darcine Thomas?
Are you asking about the actress?
Not the actress. This when
The
you hear the
character,
yeah,
of course,
when you
yes,
hear yeah,
yes.
yeah, when you
Thank
hear
you.
the name Darcine,
Yeah.
this is your golden child, and I'm sure
Yes,
there's so much that you relate to with her day. But who is she to you
that's
when you hear the name?
that's a great, thank you. That's what a wonderful question. She is kind of every person, every man, every woman. Um, it's which is one of the reasons I'm inspired to expand it into a feature is that everybody seems to relate to her.
Yeah,
Younger people in their say 20s told me, "Oh, that's my life. I was that's the life I've lived." Or if my parents weren't helping me, that's how I would be right now. Older people in their 60s have told me, "Oh, I lived a period of my life like that." You know, um, um, so in a way, she represents every person, which is kind of a bold and broad statement to make, but in a way, she kind of represents all of us.
yeah,
Um, and I think she sort of cuts across gender and even race
yeah,
um, to kind of represent these ideas.
yeah,
So these feelings or these life experiences. So that's gratifying. It's encouraging. It's inspiring. People love Darcine. They tell me, they love Darcine, the character. They like the movie too, but they tell me they love Darcine. One person said, "I love how she has a twinkle in her eye when she's talking about herself." I like. Another says, "I like how she never gives up.
yeah,
How she, keeps getting slapped in the face and she just stands up again to get some more." And then again, it's that kind of makes me realize she's kind of like all of us because that's what we do. We kind of like just keep rolling with life and stay positive.
yeah,
At the end, I think that's the story of the short film is it's a story of like um, perseverance and hope. And
yeah,
that started to touch on some of what I went through to make the film because at first addressing this type of subject matter, it became rather dark rather quickly. And there was a turning point when I realized that Darcine couldn't be, from a drama standpoint, Darcine couldn't be a victim. Darcine had to be a hero. And
yeah,
kind of shifted from, oh, look at this poor person and look at all the terrible things she has to go through, and isn't that terrible, to, oh, look at this person going through life and she's still standing up
yeah.
and again. And so that kind of was a turning point. And I think to me, if the film has some success, I think that's the success of it, is that it's ultimately enough affirmation of human perseverance.
Yeah, I mean, again, with it being with this being established post-pandemic Los Angeles, I mean, you talk about a dark time. We just came from that. So considering that from a dark time where none of us knew what the fate was with COVID and when would it resolve? What does life look like outside of it? And then we get to what we thought may be normacy. And so now we get into Darcine's just regular day to day and we see the term, sort of the term of when it rains, it pours. One thing after another. She pitches this business idea, so she bet on herself. That's what a lot of people told us to do out there in the world, right? And you went there and they told you, nah, you're not qualified. It's like, okay, no worry. Hey, I guess I need to get a place, right? So let me try that. I got my vouchers and everything. It's like, I need your credit score still too. Like, so we'll let you know. It's like, okay, there's like, all right, fine. I can't have my own business, can't get my place. Let me try to get a job. It's like, this is first grade. I'm not qualified to do this. And it's like, oh, only part time, so I can't get insurance. Okay. And then we even see her in the grocery store trying to figure out. I guess there's a measure of just, I think there's like a moral conflict at that moment of like, do I take this because I need to eat, or do I like withhold my ethics and just, go on with my day, which is really powerful, really, really, really powerful in such a short time. And then ultimately too we see her go back, her property manager makes a pass, a disgusting scene there, and she still shows grace. Easily could have took a moment to whatever it may have been, defend herself or just make this scene anything than what it was, and just to go back to her car and kind of reset for the next day. I mean, I always say the most beautiful trait in humanity is resilience, and seeing her in that light, I firmly agree. What a hero. And for me as the fan now, because you can see how passionate I am about this, I don't know which way I want to go with this film. Do I want to go to the next day, or do I want to kind of see what it was like for her during the pandemic? But I know I'm like emotionally connected to this character because for one day, this is a person that you may have walked past and she's dressed nice, she's put together, little smile. She said the glimmer in her eyes, but she's having one hell of a day, man. It's just brutal for her. And she still somehow, some way decides to keep her head up. That's inspiring, my guy. That truly is.
The human, yeah, human perseverance. It's a great feeling.
So
Thank you.
For my final question here, I want to ask you about bringing on Kyla, who what can you say? What can you say? I this is I believe my first time being introduced to her, and I quickly looked down her credits and I said, wow, she's phenomenal. I hope if you're able to stretch this to a feature, you decide to keep her on board. And I know a little bit about her story, about coming to LA, chasing her dreams in Hollywood, which I'm sure that some of this character is in her story as well, too. But what a just raw performance, man. I mean, this fantastic. How did you find her? How did you know she was your girl? What is you two's relationship today?
Thank you for asking. Kyla Diane Kennedy is an actress who I was introduced to through an open casting session. It was during the writer's strike last and the SAG strike. We were filming. I signed the SAG agreement, which opened up a whole pool of actors who had been twiddling their thumbs with nothing to do. So it sort of struck gold there by signing a SAG agreement during the SAG strike. So I was able to hire SAG talent. Had a lot of responses. 90 over about 90 actresses applied for the role. And that's intimidating and difficult because they're all fantastic. So much talent, and it's so interesting. It was new first time for me, functioning as a doing casting. I couldn't afford to hire a casting director. And out of those 90, Kyla just rose to the top. There was something in her eyes. You're looking as a casting person, you're looking at hundreds of pictures. What is it that's gonna, and to me, it became the eyes. And looking at eyes and seeing stories within the eyes and behind the eyes. And she had a lot going on there. So I asked her to audition, and she created a very nice self-tape, which is the standard now. And we really connected. But the real credit I have to give Kyla is that she embraced the role. She took it on very personally, and she helped me modify the script and the character to make it more subtle and
Mm.
more genuine. I was a little bit more heavy-handed with some of the ideas. Maybe it comes from working in props. I don't know. Needing to really show and make sure the audience understood everything. And her performances and her ideas were more like understated and subtle. And I just I thank her so much for that contribution. And I think it really elevated the project. And it was a huge lesson for me to work with a fine actor and really see the magic of what they do. Frankly, I'm in awe. I'm frankly in awe watching an actress work and see what they do and how they do it. It's just magic. It's pure magic. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was the relationship. I'm a big fan. I think she's a rock star and a shooting star. I think she's of the caliber of Julia Roberts and more. And I think she just hasn't been quite discovered yet for those kinds of roles. But I think she's of that caliber. Just you just want to watch her. And I guess I can't say too much more about her, but I think you can tell I'm a fan.
I am too. I am too. Well, you two deserve this right now, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds with this story. The seat here at Big Opel Media is absolutely open for you any and every time, but especially for this one, I really want to see this come to fruition and it be stretched out to a feature film. But in the meantime, folks can support you and keep up where it may be shown at other festivals at Darcine.day. That link is in the description below. Aaron, it's been a complete pleasure. Thank you so much for bringing this story to life here to our screens and everything you've done in all the other titles as I mentioned earlier, man. You're absolutely a legend. I just think that as Hollywood has started to turn around to the other folks in other departments that have been underappreciated at times, that we want to make sure for the folks such as yourself that not only bring these props and these art design, these set designs together, but also the safety behind it as well too. Like you all absolutely make a lot of these sets come to life, and it's without you all's work, we wouldn't have these moments to be really immersed into the story and to the way we are. So I really appreciate this. And Darcine's Day is an amazing story. You need to stay in the director's seat too, sir. Just to let you know that.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for your time. I appreciate talking to you.
Okay, thank you.